Hello and welcome to Next Gen Finance. My name is Lina Apsheva. I am your host, and today I am excited to welcome you to a very special year-end episode where I will talk to a number of my colleagues in sustainable banking about their highlights and the things that they have seen and want to share about from the past year, 2023, and also some things that we can look out for in the year 2024. I will first talk to the SEB Chief Sustainability Officer, Hans Beyer, who has just recently come back from COP28 in Dubai, who will share some of his reflections on this conference and also talk to us a little bit in general terms of what's happening in sustainable banking and what type of themes can we look out for in the coming year. After that, we will hear from Carl Oskar Olming, who is the head of sustainability strategy and policy at SEB, who is very much involved in the development of sustainable finance related policies and regulations, especially in the EU, who will share with us his views on this past year, the major developments that we have seen in this area, and also some expectations for 2024. I will also talk to Fredrik von Platen, who is a sustainable finance specialist in debt capital markets at SEB, who will talk to us about especially bond transactions and frameworks that he has seen in 2023 that he has helped clients structure and advise them on, and also some expectations for the coming year, of course. And last but certainly not least, I will talk to Natalie Egenes, who is the head of sustainability in the corporate and private customer segment in SEB and covers corporations that are medium and smaller sized, as well as private customers of the bank and insurance products. And she will share with us about some exciting products that we have seen emerging in this area for this segment of clients in 2023, and also some things that we can look out for in the future. And now I'm here with the SEB Chief Sustainability Officer, Hans Beyer. Hans, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to come and talk to us and share some of your views. Before I talk about or ask you about the expectations for 2024, I simply must ask you about your experiences in Dubai at COP28, where you were just a few weeks ago. COP has, at the time when we were recording, just finalized a few days ago. So how was it, and what are your impressions from the conference?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. The first word that comes to mind is huge. The expo area is magnificent and huge, and you get really taken back about how well organized it was. We were really scared that we were just standing in lines all the time. But then looking at the productivity of what actually came out of COP. I mean, the COP is divided into a stage setting for the first week and then negotiations for the second week, and then we see what comes out. And I was there during the first week when we focused, among other things, on finance on the Monday, the 4th, when I was there. So I was there the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. And if there's one thing that strikes me with this COP is that it was more focused on here and now, or what we need to do here and now to propel this forward faster, this transition that we're all talking about, rather than lofty expectations and what we can commit to by 2045 and 2050, which to me is exceptionally important, because it's when you hit the ground, you need to move, right? The promises far out, they are done by countries. But at the end of the day, they can support the transition, but the transition in itself has to happen with our consumers and with the companies that support their consumers with their desires.
Could you then share a little bit about how we have been supporting our customers in this transition in the past year?
Well, I think that we've done what we always try to do, namely to make sure that the ones that are moving in the same direction as we are, that we provide them with our full support to make sure that their transition goes as smooth as possible, and that they are able to capture what we continuously believe is a sustainability supercycle, which will include, of course, hazards and production risks and changes, which is always costly, but also creating new opportunities. And I take a lot of comfort in the forward-looking, business-dependent decisions that were taken at the COP28, and that rhymes quite well what we experienced during the year. But this year has also seen a huge repricing of some of the large companies that have been involved in not the least the transition of the energy sector in Europe, and that is not unnatural. We saw the same thing with the railways and the first when the internet came and so forth, right? But it's been a very volatile year for those companies that are large in this sector, not the least, of course, due to the crisis in Ukraine and so forth.
And you've mentioned transition a few times, and in my view, transition is kind of one of these overarching themes in sustainable finance. Are there any other themes that you have seen emerging this year that you could tell us about?
As we've hidden behind sustainability, we will probably also hide behind transition and incorporate a lot of what we see in transition. But in general, we cannot just throw out everything we have today and just walk into a new world tomorrow, literally. We simply need to look at those that are the fabric of society today and see that they change, right? And that is the transition. And then society is a very heterogeneous animal, if you want to, and can pinpoint that if it's the energy sector, if it's the toy production sector, or if it's the water access sector, what we're talking about. It is a question of what everyone can contribute with, rather than what we promise in 20, 25 years, that I think should be the focus from now on. Because even though it's 27 years still to 2050, the time horizon shortens, right? And many of the investments that are required has a payback time of 15, 20 years, right? An investment horizons of 15, 20 years. And we simply have to start today to make sure that the foundations for those decisions are there. And our contribution to that as a bank or representatives of financial system is, of course, to provide capital in the most efficient way and supporting what we believe are the right ways to solving the challenges that we're standing in front of.
And you've already kind of touched on this forward-looking perspective, right? But now I'm wondering for the year 2024 specifically, is there anything that we need to do differently, maybe in concrete terms, or do we just keep on helping our customers? What do you think?
Well, I think that we as a bank probably have to develop a few more skills, taking into context when we allocate capital, not just climate, but climate's relationship to nature, because there will be an increased focus on that. I personally think that Europe has run ahead a little bit too far and should wait for the rest of the world when it comes to regulation. I think that there are very good signs of that, and I think that we need to incorporate this discussion in a sober way, both in our bank but in society at large. What is good, and not making the exquisite or excellent the enemy of the good, because then things will not start that needs to be started today. I think that there was in COP, coming back a little bit to that because it's very much on my mind today, there was no discussions of exclusions that I have heard of, right? It was rather like, what can we propel faster forward? And I think that is a very promising sign. So engagement to even larger extent, but also making sure that we do this as efficiently as possible to actually move forward. Because I think that someone said it very wisely concerning the developing countries, that we have to be able to provide the consumers in developing countries with a sustainable choice. We cannot expect the world to just, well, someone said like go back into caves, but take down their expectations of raising their living standards because we somewhere else are very worried about climate and climate change. This has to be regarded and understood as a global challenge. And I think that we came a lot further. I spent time with companies down there that you wouldn't have expected think a lot about this and what their contribution can be. Not because they are good by nature, but because they see that if we get the demand trends right, things will change a lot. And we've seen that in not the least electric vehicles, but also in other areas, right, where you get a sudden very, very strong acceleration in industries when there is a competitive, so people can afford it, sustainable alternative. Steel making is going to go down that route as well. That was very clear when we were down there.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And you've raised so many important points, and I think also themes that we can look out for in 2024. You've mentioned relationship between nature and climate. You've mentioned water, and of course, this very, very important topic of a just transition that doesn't leave anyone behind. So thank you so much, Hans, for a great overview, and definitely a lot to look forward to. And I appreciate you taking your time to provide your insights.
Thank you very much, and happy Christmas and happy New Year.
And now I have Carl-Oskar Olming, who is the head of sustainable strategy and policy at SEB here in the studio. Hi, Carl-Oskar. Thank you so much for taking time to join me by
Hi,
the
Lina.
microphone.
Nice to be here.
And you're very much involved in the development of regulations, especially in Europe, and a lot of things that the European Commission does on sustainable finance. So could you please share your views on the highlights of the past year?
Yeah, thanks, Lina. Yeah, I have the opportunity to sit in the platform on sustainable finance, advising the EU Commission on the Sustainable Finance Action Plan and the regulations coming out of that. And I'd say that 2023 has been kind of the year when we all tied the knot or finalized what was left in the Commission's Sustainable Finance Action Plan. So there were a lot of things that have happened this year. And it started out in June when we got the full taxonomy adopted. Then there was a scrutiny period, of course, but that was a great milestone. So now we not only have climate mitigation and adaptation, but we also have a taxonomy on circularity, water, biodiversity, and pollution. And that one kicks in 2024. So that's one big milestone. Another big milestone that builds on the taxonomy is the EU Green Bond Standard. So that is something that they started with already in the Technical Expert Group 2018, and has taken all the time until 2023 until it was adopted by the Commission and the Parliament and the Council. So now we have a green bond standard that says that if you want to issue a green bond based on the EU version of it, then you need to have 85% of the use of proceeds going to taxonomy-aligned capex. So this is a hallmark in a way of the Commission also going into instruments and trying to regulate instruments. It's still on a voluntary basis. You can choose whether you want to apply the EU Green Bond Standard or not. But if you do, then there is a whole regulation around it. Then I think the biggest of them all, and which is a huge change to reporting, is of course that we now got the European Sustainability Reporting Standard. And the standard was adopted this year, and I talked to some auditors, and they said this is the biggest change since IFRS in 2005. So this is major. And it is major in many ways. One way is because now the standard is looking at sustainability issues along the whole value chain, not only of the company. It takes a double materiality approach. So it's both the issues around financial risks and opportunities, but also the impact out of the company. And then finally, it is a standard that not only looks backwards like we do in financial reporting, but it also has forward-looking elements. So it's quite a new thing to take in as a corporate. And next to that, and I think kind of, if we would say, the international sister version of this is the ISSB, so the International Sustainability Standards Board, which came out with their reporting standard as well. So now we have reporting standard globally, and the ESRS and the ISSB, they actually overlap when it comes to climate.
Thank you so much, Carl Oscar. Very interesting, and so many different topics that are being covered. And like you said, also some knots that are finally being tied. So I'm wondering, what are your expectations for the coming year, 2024? Are there any exciting things we should look out for, or maybe some knots that haven't been tied yet that might be tied next year? Tell us about it, please.
The exciting world of regulations. I'd put it like this. Most of the things have been done in 2023 when it comes to the main parts. But there are a couple of things that kind of were finalized, agreements were reached, or things came out from the Commission, but they will then be fully adopted next year. One such thing is the famous SFDR, Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation. There, just a week or two ago, the ESAs came out with their new Level 2 RTS, where they provide new guidance basically on how to interpret the Level 2 regulation. So, for example, they introduced new mandatory principal adverse impact reporting requirements on tax, on tobacco, on wage. They put in requirements on principal adverse impact thresholds, which has not been there before. You should have on your product level a greenhouse gas reduction plan and new ways of calculating sustainable investment. So this has now come out, and it just needs a scrutiny period before it is, before it is adopted and goes live. So exactly when that happens in 2024, I don't know, but somewhere in the second half, we could expect that it's applicable. Now in December, we got another major milestone. It's the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, which is now we have a final agreement between the Parliament and the Council. This is also a major milestone because now we actually have a framework for how corporates have to do their due diligence on their upstream value chain and parts of their downstream value chain. It's also issues about liabilities and so on. So this is a major achievement. But it's worth noting that one of the major parts was whether the financial sector should be included or not. And here they said that they are opting out the financial sector, and then there will be a revision coming in a couple of years' time, and then we'll see whether the financial sector comes in. That was one of the main kind of debating positions. So that one is also being adopted next year, and then we have the final one, and this is really kind of the main banking issue, and that is the capital requirements package. That one has also, there is an agreement in the Council. It's just waiting agreement in the Parliament. And this is a major change because it introduces a lot of new reporting requirements on Pillar 3. So basically banks reporting on ESG factors. But they're also introducing a lot of new ESG requirements on stress testing and reporting around this. And then they are also giving another assignment to EBA on how to include ESG in capital requirements. So we can really see how we are moving towards a full integration and structuring on reporting and ESG in kind of all in the core part of banking, basically. So that I think so we're setting the scene for a next commission on where they could start thinking about, well, what should we do next? Should we have capital requirements? How should that look like? So it's a lot of that, and that will come in. But then the big thing I would say is that 2024 is the year of execution of everything I said happened in 2023. So this is when everybody has to start reporting on ESRS and these kind of things. So I think 2024 is really the year when we stop talking about this and we just start doing things in the full area of sustainable finance. So I think, and if I should end here, I would say we are now at the end of the commission, and we're at the end of their vision, and they're actually now finalizing all the areas they they set out to achieve, they have actually achieved. And when I listen to how the Commission talks in Brussels, it's now much more about usability, how to make it work, maybe also easing, aligning regulations, but easing them as well. So there are a lot of those kind of thinking. So next year we will not expect any new things coming on the table. We know what's going to happen. And that is because we have the European Parliament elections, we get a new commission, and during that time, basically, they don't table new stuff. So the interesting part will be to see how ambitious the commission will be when they come in and they set their new vision for the next 5 years.
Almost want to say finally, right? Finally, we're moving into action, and it will be curious to witness how it pans out with companies integrating sustainability into their reporting, for example, in a more structured way, and banks doing the same. So a lot to look forward to, I think, in 2024. And now it's time to talk to Fredrik van Platten, who is the Sustainable Finance Specialist in Debt Capital Markets in SEB. Hi, Fredrik. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me.
Hey, Lina. Great to be here.
So, Fredrik, you are the specialist of all things debt financing. And I'm wondering if you could give us a bit of an overview of 2023 in terms of the bond issuances that are some way connected to sustainability, right? So all labeled bonds.
Obviously, this is something that we're keeping track on month by month. But I would say that from a sustainable finance point of view and what we're doing in the bond market, sure, there's a decline this year. We are not meeting the targets or the volumes that we saw coming to the market last year. But that also have an effect on the overall economy, of course. So, I think that you need to drill down a little bit and look at individual segments in the market. But looking at it, in particular on green bonds, there's actually an increase in the market. There's also an increase of social bonds year on year for what we did see last year. Then when we're looking into sustainability-linked bonds, there's a bit of a decline. And I think that there's a quite natural effect here that early when the product was new, there was an urge from quite a few to tap the market in this format. I think that we've learned quite a lot during these years in terms of quality, in terms of what type of KPIs to bring to the market. Obviously, looking at it from a Nordic point of view, I think that the quality remains super high in everything, right? But from a global point of view, there might be a few situations where maybe haven't looked into the exact most ambitious targets or area. But maybe we'll come to a little bit conclusions of what could happen going forward, because I think there's a bit of a revival for the instrument as a whole.
But Fredrik, you are working on the ground, so to speak, with large corporates and helping them come to the market with these type of transactions. So I'm wondering if there are any transactions or frameworks from the past year that really stand out to you that you would like to highlight to us.
First of all, I want to bring up Stora Enso, what we did together with them, or actually what they have been up to in terms of their framework. And they had a green bond framework already when we had the initial discussion with them, and they wanted to have an update on that. So I think that they have put a lot of emphasis in reflecting all the new market practices, conventions, recommendations out there. So there's quite a few new items or features within that part of the framework that really stands out and increase the quality, you could say, increase the transparency and information that you're getting already up front. Not only in terms of what they will finance, but also a little bit more context on the impact that they're delivering. So that was one interesting case, I would say. And simultaneously, they also included a sustainability-linked feature into that framework. So this is a combined framework with the capabilities for them to issue both green and sustainability-linked bonds. On on that side of it, they included targets for CO2 reduction, obviously sort of focusing on scope 1, 2, and 3 targets that they have been or got on verification from Science Based Targets Initiative. They also wanted to put emphasis on biodiversity and circularity. And that was, hey, can I say it? That was really cool. It was innovative. It's something that we haven't seen that much in the market before. I might even be able to say that it was the first type of a transaction with those, or sorry, the first type of a framework with those type of feature, all in all, in the European market, but maybe broader than that as well. So they included a target on biodiversity, which is one of the themes that I think that we will come back to in this podcast maybe next year as well, in terms of summarizing the whole year. Because obviously there's a huge interest to understand and maybe educate people in the market on this type of a topic. They also had included a target on circularity, which is equivalent, interesting, and sort of interesting for all market participants to learn about. So that is one that really stands out, I would say. And then the second one, I need to, and I want to as well, but I want to mention Vasakronan, because they were the first issue of a corporate green bond 10 years ago. And we did a work together with them to sort of, you could say, celebrate or having a anniversary bond 10 years after the first one. And obviously they also wanted to take the opportunity to update their framework. This framework is super ambitious. I mean, it's the most ambitious framework that I've seen in the sector across the globe, right? So you will be able to find criteria that is aligned with the taxonomy, but they're also taking it, step further than that.
The listeners of the podcast know how I feel about biodiversity, so I think they won't be surprised to find out that the Stora Enso framework also has a special place in my heart.
I can see that in your eyes when you said that, and you obviously know it before, so yeah.
But Fredrik, before I let you go, could you give us a bit of an overview of your thoughts and expectations for 2024? What should we expect to see in the market?
Sort of from a regulatory point of view, what we're seeing in terms of the taxonomy, I think that this is a little bit of an opener. More issuers are reporting their taxonomy alignment, and that might open up doors for them to sort of find pockets and find assets to finance in a green format. And I think that's something that we will see going forward a little bit more, that particular link. I also think that sort of from a regulatory point of view, the EU Green Bond Standard is, we have talked about it for quite some years. We got more information about it from the regulators or EU during this year. And we also have sort of a set date now. On the 24th of December next year, we know that it's going to be sort of, implemented in law, right? You mentioned biodiversity. There are other sort of sectoral topics that are, key for particular spots in the markets, or where there's an interest from investors to, both educate and sort of learn from the experts in the market. So I mean, I think that this is yet again a great time to sort of utilize what you're doing and sort of making sure investors understand this and sort of have that great collaboration in education and so forth. I think I mentioned here, Lina, that sort of I see that there's a revival for SLBs, right? Sustainability-linked bonds, that is. And that is also an interesting theme that I think we will see next year. The market has learned and adopted a bit. There's great material to read up on in terms of market best practice, and maybe a few sort of bad examples that you want to learn from as well. The common theme is sort of increased quality, both in terms of what can be financed and how to report it, and sort of how to package it in a best possible way. So I mean, we're super keen to have and to continue the dialogues with our clients in order how to take an opportunity and how to do it in a best way. So happy to come back and tell you more about what we have on our table for next year.
Yes, and we'll be happy to have you back. So thank you so much, Fredrik. A lot of things to look forward to in the coming year. And now it's time to speak with Natalie Egenes, who's the head of sustainability at CNPC and Life. And this is a segment that handles our corporate, private customers. And what is Life, by the way, Natalie?
Well, it is our pension company that provides products for both corporates and private individuals. So it's the same customer segment, just a different product type.
Oh, okay, great. Interesting. But thank you so much for taking time to talk to me in this busy pre-holiday season.
Of course, it's always so nice to be able to reflect back on the year and summarize what we've done. So it's a pleasure to be here.
And what would you say has happened in the CNPC and Life segment in 2023? Any highlights that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, we have a broad customer base. We've got both private individuals and corporates, and within corporates, a broad range of sizes, everything from solo entrepreneurs to larger corporates that have been established for a very long time. So it's there's been quite a lot of things that have been happening in the last year, and yeah, I'd love to share some highlights of that. For private individuals, something that came out this year and was very exciting was a energy analysis tool that our private customers can take part of to really get a diagnostic analysis of their energy consumption in their homes. And through that, they're able to see some simpler or bigger things that they could do, renovations in their home that would improve or reduce their energy usage, and of course then also improve or minimize their climate impact. And along with that, to really be able to help customers act on the analysis that they receive, we have had numerous partnerships that have been further developed with providers of solar panels, heat pumps, and different solutions that can help customers address and act on the analysis that they receive. So that's one part for private customers. And if I stay on the private customers area, but this can be really for any type of investor, we have also released a function that provides customers with information on sustainability of equities that they may be interested in investing in. So by logging into our internet bank, customers can see a number of different data points that we source from ISS ESG relating to how listed companies work with sustainability in terms of climate ambitions they've committed to, but even type of questions such as gender equality on the board and things like that. So there's been quite a lot of things that have been focused on providing customers with more insight so that they can act and really make choices that are more based on a holistic perspective, not just their financial side, but also a sustainability impact type of aspect to it as well. So those are two things within the private segment. And for the corporate side, actually on a similar type of track, we've recently released a energy improvement loan. So the ambition with that is to be able to support customers in different projects and investments that they want to do relating to an energy improvement. So for us, a important sector that we have a lot of customers within and that also has a very big transition journey ahead is the real estate sector. So here we see that there is a huge potential to be able to help customers actually invest in different type of solutions that can make their energy usage better and their climate impact lower. And that can be everything from renovations that isolate better or solar panel installation. So quite similar to the private side, but catered to corporates.
Really interesting. And you mentioned the potential in the real estate sector moving forward. So I'm wondering, what are your expectations in general for 2024? What should we expect to see in CNPC and Life?
It will be very interesting to continue following how different regulations continue forming how sustainable investments are defined, and in that sense also continues pushing the market to developing new products, or at least making sure that they are developed in a way that minimizes greenwashing and can make it continually easier for customers to really make those investment decisions that you mentioned, that based on better data, better information, they can consider more aspects, including sustainability, when making investment decisions. So I think that's something to follow, how both regulations but also just market participants continue developing the offering that is available. So that's one aspect. And then back to the other thing with the real estate sector, I think that again there's a lot of regulations and directives that are driving the development forward. And within real estate, that's one area that I think we will see quite a bit of development, because this is a sector that really requires such a important and big transition. So expectations on this sector is something that I think will require us to be able to be very proactive in how we support our customers, ensure that we have a very strong advisory that can help customers, corporates within real estate, know where they need to address parts of their portfolio to make sure they're compliant with different directives that are developing, and that we also, on top of the advisory that we want to provide, have the right financing solutions to ensure that they can actually invest and make the improvements required going forward. I think that in general, what is exciting to also see in the market within our segment that is somewhat smaller corporates and even private individuals is the ongoing maturity in understanding and competence level. I think that's something that we still see today, is that for private individuals, for example, not everyone sees the connection between banks and sustainability yet. There's, of course, those customers that are very interested and very engaged, see it as extremely important for us to take a very active role, but others don't really see that connection. And I think here we have an opportunity to increase that awareness, be part of a development in the market among our customers to really understand this. And I look forward to seeing that development of how we can help customers understand that, and then also take a more active role in helping our customers be part of the transition going forward. So those are things I'm looking forward to seeing.
Very exciting, and great to finish on such a positive message and such a optimistic outlook for the future. Very much looking forward to see what else you and your team come up with in 2024 and the coming years. Thank you so much, Natalie. And thanks, as always, to all of our listeners. And special thank you for all the listeners who have been with us through 2023. And I certainly hope that you will stay with us in 2024 to make sure that you're updated every time when a new episode comes out. Please remember to subscribe, like, add to favorites, depending on which platform you're listening to. Then you will never miss a new episode. And if you like the podcast, then please feel free to give it a 5-star review. We will appreciate that very much as well. I hope you have a lovely time over the holidays. As always, take care, goodbye, and thank you.